What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast, our live local daily TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Today we'll be talking to a number of people about topics of interest and importance to Michiganders just like you. Let's begin with what's making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page. Our first article comes from Hannah McKay at the Detroit News. Thousands of fake prescription medications were seized in the Midwest this week in Michigan and Ohio as part of a nationwide effort that has secured over 10 million fake pills in just about 4 months. The fakes did not contain medication, however, but rather fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is highly lethal. The seizure was part of the Drug Enforcement Agency, or DEA's, One Pill Can Kill initiative. 40% of the pills that were seized contained enough fentanyl to be deadly. DEA special agent in charge for the Detroit field office, Orville Green, said that these pills are imports from the cartel and are not being manufactured locally. They're actually just imported, stating, quote, the fentanyl isn't being manufactured locally. The cartels have affiliates all over the country. It's a marketing ploy. Where are the folks that you're trying to reach? Where's your demographic? You're looking at a younger demographic, again, with rainbow fentanyl. Snapchat is where we're seeing mostly. It's because of the anonymity. It's end-to-end encryption and the fact that those messages, they go away after a certain period of time that allows, end close quote, which of course allows those sales to be done much more discreetly than what has been in the past before this more technological social media savvy age, when these things would be done out in the open. You could run sort of stings in person and see in the flesh as people were exchanging these drugs. Now they're being done over social media. In some cases, these are children that are then purchasing these drugs from very dangerous groups of people right here in our local area and in other pockets all throughout the United States. All the more reason to keep a close eye on your kids' social media, and of course, great work being done by the DEA to try to snuff some of these groups out in process. Also making headlines today from Paula Gardner at Bridge, Michigan. Upwards of 4,000 more automotive jobs will be heading Michigan's way as Our Next Energy and Goshen this week committed to opening new electric vehicle battery plants right here in Michigan. The new plants will cost about $4 billion and be located in Big Rapids as well as in Wayne County. This is in addition to plans from GM and LG Energy Solutions to also build new battery plants right here in the Great Lakes state. Quote, this is critical for the future of Michigan. This is because this is an important year because we're in such a crucial moment in time with the transition from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, end closed quote, said Michigan Manufacturers Association Executive Vice President Mike Johnston. So this is a big move for electric vehicle production here in the Great Lakes state, of course, in a place that's often been known as the Motor City in Wayne County in the Detroit area, going to be on the front lines of this new revolution, this next revolution in the automotive industry with electric vehicles. Great news there. And of course, more jobs for Michiganders looking to get back onto the workforce very soon. Finally, making headlines today on CivicCenterTV.com's local news page from the Detroit Free Press's Nusrat Rahman. The Charlotte in Detroit has been renovated to contain 28 apartments, both 1 and 2 bedrooms, as part of the Detroit Housing for the Future Fund. This is the first project under this fund to complete its renovation and be ready for opening, creating more affordable housing availability in the city. That's good news for those in the communities and around the Charlotte, as well as it sat vacant for over a decade prior to these renovations. Mayor Mike Duggan commented on the project's completion, saying, quote, every single time we take one of these vacant apartment buildings and turn it into affordable housing, We've strengthened the neighborhood entirely, end close quote. The city is cataloging vacant apartment buildings that officials believe are salvageable and considering them for this project as well to convert them. Tenants are already set to move in to the new apartments, including college student Cheryl Anderson from Wayne State, who grew up on Detroit's west side. The 22-year-old Wayne State student said, quote, even within the city of Detroit, you have so many homes that are like outdated or overpriced. And this building specifically is neither one of those. Good news out of the D. All those headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page, along with those ever helpful links to COVID-19 information and updates from the CDC and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the Oakland County Health Division. We have a great show ahead on this Thursday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we'll talk mental health with the Birmingham Maple Clinic's Carrie Craig. That's up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be like happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live local daily TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about our program on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find all of our partnering stations information and all of our full programs and individual interviews on demand. So you can watch us anytime, anywhere, and in your local area. Well, October is ADHD Awareness Month, or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder Awareness Month. And joining us now to talk about ADHD, the ways that it affects many people in our communities and the ways that it affects all elements of their life, is Carrie Craig, a therapist with the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Carrie, thanks for being with us again.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So as we mentioned, October is ADHD Awareness Month, and we've heard more and more about ADHD in our communities over the last couple of decades, especially for those that aren't familiar with the specifics of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Can you tell us about ADHD and some of the common symptoms that people have to persist through as they're afflicted with this condition?
Absolutely. And you're right. ADHD has grown in sort of awareness over the last couple of decades, but it's also changed names. So it used to be divided by ADD, which was sort of commonly used as a term, and ADHD. Now we use the one term to encapsulate all of those things. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder can encapsulate those people who have trouble with inattention. That means struggling maybe to remember things, to focus on the certain things that they're supposed to be, and maybe get distracted by other things. And hyperactivity, which may encapsulate that fidgeting, needing to kind of move and go, and maybe being sort of impulsive or, interjecting things at inappropriate times, things like that.
And so when you're observing a patient, or when doctors are observing a patient and maybe referring them to you, another mental health professional, what are some of the things that they're looking for that may be symptomatic of somebody being afflicted with ADHD at a varying form of severity?
So in children, often people get referred when you're seeing a lot of the hyperactive symptoms. So as school age children go to school and they're required to sit for longer and longer times or sustain attention, that's where you may see sort of the children that are able to sustain and have that stamina for a school day, and those that aren't. And those are often where referrals are made. What's happening now is that we're finding that because those peak hyperactive symptoms sort of dissipate once a child gets a little older, we're seeing that adults are coming in with other issues, say, for example, anxiety or depression, because here they've grown most of their life thinking they're somehow inadequate compared to their peers, or that something's wrong with them, that they just don't get things the way other people do, or they've been heavily criticized. And they're coming in as adults with depression and anxiety. And an evaluation is really revealing that underlying ADHD may have shaped their entire, school age and young adult behaviors, and really is the answer for why they're struggling now in the present.
What's interesting about ADHD is we see a wide variety of people that may be afflicted by it, at, as you said earlier, at a varying form of severity too. So what are some of the common risk factors or possible causes maybe for ADHD that's known in the mental health and in the psychological community?
I can't speak to all of the causes, but certainly, as in mental health, there are many co-contributing factors. So certainly genetics, certainly environment, certainly exposure to certain things is going to shape whether a disorder is sort of shown or not. So you may have, right, like some genetic predisposition or some family predisposition, but you may not exhibit the symptoms because you've either derived some other ways, or you get some additional support or some help, or your family's created routines that really benefit you. Whereas another child, say, for example, without that support or without that family awareness, it may be more exposed or more likely to come up. A psychological evaluation is really good because, especially in kids, being fidgety or agitated, even being distracted, may be a sign of something else, not ADHD. And, being even those like low self-esteem, depressed symptoms may not be depressed, may actually be ADHD, but because, they're struggling school-wise and comparing themselves to their peers, they're presenting in this other way. So a psychological evaluation is really the best way to determine what's the underlying cause.
And the timing that this is diagnosed also can have an immense impact. I would imagine that the earlier that it is diagnosed, the greater that these treatments and that these efforts that are being done by patients and by medical officials can be on kind of tampering some of the symptoms of ADHD, and that it may be a little bit tougher to get those in check, at least initially, for those that are diagnosed older. So often we hear about ADHD diagnoses in children, but typically when are those diagnoses being made? Is it mostly for younger kids, or are these also pretty commonly being made for adults later on in their life?
I think, like you said, so usually when a child, especially those disruptive children, are, causing an issue that maybe is rising to the attention of school professionals or things, then you're getting referrals at those ages because the behaviors are disruptive. Unfortunately, not everybody has those disruptive behaviors. So it does take a lot of time for those kids that are maybe a little more internal. They're losing focus, but from the outside, they seem like they're sitting quietly. They're not really raised to the attention that where a teacher would say, hey, there's something going on here. Those kids are getting diagnosed much later. I think you touched on something. Certainly early diagnosis, especially when ADHD is the culprit, is really important, because then you're protecting the child from those other side effects, like, say, for example, changes in their confidence, their insecurity, how they see themselves. you can actually protect them from those things, and they can sort of build their confidence just alongside their peers with the extra supports that they need.
In terms of treatment, there are certainly medications that help to alleviate some of the symptoms, or at least the severity of some of the symptoms of ADHD, Carrie. But what are some of the other ways that this condition is treated on both medical level as well as a therapeutic level for those of all ages?
Sure. So there's many medications, and in some ways it's a trial and error. In some ways there's new products that doctors are able to use to sort of guide which medicines are the best for which people. So certainly that's one avenue people take. Individual therapy, child play therapy, and even family therapy to help parents give the skills to sort of reward appropriate behaviors, to teach and encourage appropriate behaviors. One of the issues with ADHD is called executive functioning, which is sort of like the manager, the control center of our brain doesn't have the manager that it needs. And so to be able to teach kids and adults, young adults, the skills involved in that, some organizational techniques, you might need more, certain use of planners or folders or things that are going to help facilitate keeping a person sort of organized, where and less distracted is going to be helpful. Giving parents techniques to give the kinds of directions, giving small behavioral directions, go put your shoes on now. For a kid with ADHD, you may tell them it's time to get ready for school, and they've run into their bedroom to grab a toy, they've turned on the TV, they've stopped, 6 places along the way, to really be sure you're giving them a very specific direction to do this now, so that otherwise you might lose them by something else that's gotten their attention.
We're joined by Carrie Craig from the Birmingham Maple Clinic on today's edition of the Megacast. You can learn more information, get in contact with them at 248-646-6659, 248-646-6659 is their phone number. You can also send them an email, info@birminghammaple.com. That's info@birminghammaple.com, or visit their website, birminghammaple.com. In terms of treatment for ADHD, where does that treatment typically start? You mentioned psychological evaluations are typically really helpful in figuring out if ADHD is the specific diagnosis, if it's in combination with some other condition, or if it's not ADHD at all. But once you've made that determination that somebody has ADHD, where do you start in terms of determining what is the best treatment for them? Because it does manifest itself in so many different ways for so many different kinds of people.
Absolutely. So, you can always go to your school too and request an evaluation there, and they will help give some guidance. Sometimes it might be something like occupational therapy, for example, a certain wiggle seat or some opportunities to get up and leave the classroom that the schools are familiar and do have resources available to them. So certainly going to your school and asking for some additional support and starting that process. Of course, every school is strapped, in terms of resources and professionals. So to at least get your name on their radar as you're walking this process is really important. I think, probably casting as many nets as possible is the best advice I could give someone now. The entire mental health field is exceptionally saturated right now with people with need and less professionals. So start every avenue you can. Try to find a psychologist who can do an evaluation. Try to find a family therapist who can offer some parenting skills. Try to find a psychiatrist who might even at least just discuss medication, even if that's not a path you want to take. Cast as many nets as you can, and then you may decide we're going to take a few more steps down this path or a few more steps. You don't have to go down every single one, but at least initially get as much information as you can from as many resources as possible.
More information on ADHD can be found from a number of resources, including the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at cdc.gov. We're joined by Carrie Craig from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. You can get more information on ADHD from professionals at the Birmingham Maple Clinic by visiting birminghammaple.com or calling them at 248-646-6659. Carrie, a couple more minutes with you today. Anything else that we should know that we haven't discussed about ADHD, or steps that parents or even adults that may have ADHD or ADHD symptoms being visible in their behavior or behaviors of their loved ones that they can do at this time?
Sure. So from children, kids who are, say, for example, feel rejected by their peers, feel rejected by their teachers, feel rejected by their parents, are going to be more likely to seek perhaps like delinquent peers or maladaptive coping to sort of satisfy that need to really be accepted. So to be aware, of your own frustration, to be aware of their need to not take things personally, I think is really an important thing. And the same goes through adulthood, whether you're a young adult and dating or whether you're in a marriage. I think often the symptoms of ADHD can be taken personally by partners, the forgetfulness or, not being at a certain place at a certain time. Someone may say this is disrespectful or this is unkind, and they feel, it becomes a sort of negative thing. So to be able to hold space to say, right, there is a person that you love here who's also dealing with something else, and to show some grace and compassion and really encourage the appropriate things, know where to shine your light on the things that are going well. And the things, there are actually a lot of amazing things about ADHD too. It gets a bad rap because it's not really the easiest for, say, for example, sitting through school or a work day or maintaining a relationship. But there's some research that says, say, for example, kids with ADHD may really shine in negotiation skills. They may use charisma and personality in ways that kids that don't have to rely on those things do. So they're they use their skills and their tools and their abilities to actually become really amazing people. And so to kind of recognize that it's not all a bad thing, and continue to shine, continue to shine on those positives, and let them know they're loved, even despite some behaviors that can be unnerving, annoying, or disruptive to your household or classroom.
Plenty of more to learn about ADHD as we're in ADHD Awareness Month here throughout the month of October. More information can be found from the Birmingham Maple Clinic at birminghammaple.com and 248-646-6659. Carrie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We are in the thick of Halloween season, just a few weeks away from the beloved costume holiday. And what may be even scarier than some of your costumes and their accessories can be the ways that they can affect your body after the holiday. Coming up next, we'll talk to an eye specialist out of Berkeley about some of the ways those masks and those special contacts could be doing damage to your eye this Halloween season. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live local daily TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast. We'll find information on all of our partnering stations and find all of our full shows and individual interviews on demand. Halloween season is one of the favorite times of the year for so many people of all different ages as they dress up in different costumes and play different characters on one of the absolute favorite holidays of the entire calendar year. But some of these efforts to make your costumes more extensive and more lifelike than ever may be actually dangerous to your body in a variety of ways. Here to talk about how those dangers may affect your eyes and your vision is Dr. Amanda Salter from the Shanbaum Eye Specialists in Berkeley. Dr. Salter, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So as I mentioned, these Halloween costumes are becoming a lot more realistic and have a lot more accessories than we've seen maybe in decades past. And while that's great visually, there are several dangers that come along with some of these accessories, particularly some of these masks, the eyelashes, and of course, those contact lenses.
Yes, absolutely. I think the contact lenses are the one that, we see with the worst kind of side effects, and that would be really the counterfeit contact lenses. So, contact lenses can be safely worn if you go see your eye doctor. If you want to do costume contact lenses, go see your eye doctor, get a prescription contact lens, then they'll be properly fitted to your eye, and your doctor will teach you the appropriate wear and care for them. If you go to, say, a costume store or a gas station or a party store and you buy over-the-counter contact lenses, that is basically counterfeit contact lenses. They're not FDA approved, and they can have contaminants with toxins and germs. They won't be fitted to your eye. People often share these, which is also a very bad idea. And this is all sort of a recipe for disaster for the cornea. Worst case scenario, you can get a vision-threatening permanent damage to the cornea with an infection. So I think that's the one that we kind of worry about the most as far as eye doctors during the Halloween season. But, you mentioned also masks. You want to make sure that around your eye area, things aren't too tightly fitted. And other accessories too, like, you want to make sure you're not carrying anything sharp where you're walking around at night.
Yeah, I'll always put safety first with these costumes. You may have to sacrifice a little bit of that realism, but it's better to come out with maybe a little bit less realistic of a costume, but still have both of your eyes functioning properly. Dr. Salter, also what's common are fake eyelashes or lash extensions. Those aren't quite as dangerous necessarily on the surface level as some of these contact lenses, but there are some dangers that go along with it. So for those that want to apply fake eyelashes with their costume or eyelash extensions, what are some of the things they should be considering in order to do that safely on the night of and especially on the removal?
Yes. So, I think there is a way to safely get eyelash extensions. First off, you want to make sure that you're going to a reputable, clean place that is doing this all the time. And you may want to kind of patch test some of the glue on your skin to make sure you don't have an allergic reaction, because that's a common problem. And if you are getting the eyelash extensions, you want to make sure that you are keeping them clean. I would suggest some of the over-the-counter hypochlorous acid sprays for eyelid cleansing. That's a really good way to make sure that you hopefully don't get an eye infection while you've got the lash extensions. And the same thing would go for if you're going to do your own kind of false lashes with either glue or magnetics. You again want to make sure that you're not going to have an allergy. So I think patch testing is important there, and really careful application so you don't get any glue in your eye, because that can be, like a chemical injury to the eye, and that's not a good thing either.
We're joined by Dr. Amanda Salter from the Shanbaum Eye Specialists in Berkeley, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find more information on shanbaumeye.com, SHANBOMEYE.com, shanbaum.eye.com, or by calling them 248-546-21 248-546-2133 for more information and to get in contact with the experts at Shanbaum Eye Specialist. Dr. Salter, other common issues that we see with our eyes in the fall season, one of the more common are dry eye or itchy eye, especially as the wind gets colder and there's not as much humidity necessarily in the air. Our eyes can get dry and then we try to itch them, and that can cause a number of different issues just on top of dry eye. So let's start with what are some of the common causes for dry eye among people this time of the year here in Michigan?
Yes. So this is sort of the end of an allergy season right now, and allergies are one of the things that can flare up dry eye. There are a number of really great over-the-counter allergy eye drops. And of course, if you see your eye doctor, then there are prescription options as well. So that's certainly one thing that can kind of flare up dry eye. Also, as we head into the winter, as you mentioned, there's more wind and the cold air outside tends to be very drying, as well as once we all turn on our heat, the dry heat inside tends to be really drying. So this is a good time of year to think about a humidifier. And remember, little things make a difference, like not allowing, when you're in your car, not like aim the vents away from you. Don't allow the air to blow directly in your face. That actually makes a bigger difference than you think for your dry eye. And all year round, we're all sitting on screens. So, any kind of screen device, whether it's a computer or your phone, we tend to stare, and that dries up the surface of the eyes. We need to blink in order to spread the tears and also to pump the tears out of the glands. So, there's one really helpful computer tip. It's called the 20-20-20 rule. And that is every 20 minutes, you should take 20 seconds and look 20 feet into the distance. And I would add to that, kind of do a bunch of blinking during that time as well. And that will all help with the dry eye. There are over-the-counter lubricating eye drops, which are also very helpful. Not enough for a lot of people. So that's where, visiting the eye doctor comes in and finding out what is specifically affecting your eyes. Do you have an eyelid condition or a medical condition or even a medication that you're taking that could be flaring up your dry eye as well?
For those that may have some vision issues that also would be afflicted by dry eye, how does that affect them? Particularly, I think about those that are wearing those contact lenses. How does that affect them, and what should they be considering if someone is experiencing dry eye either while they're wearing or before or after they're wearing those contact lenses?
You're absolutely right. Contact lenses can definitely affect dry eye. So, basically that's another trigger or contributor to dry eye. I would say daily contact lenses are usually the best tolerated for patients with dry eye. And they do make artificial tear lubricant eye drops that are specifically formulated for contact lenses. That's going to be a lot more helpful than just re-wetting drops or any kind of like eye wash or saline. That's also not going to be great to use. So, I would say if your eyes, a good rule of thumb in general for contact lenses is if you put your contact lens in, or if you've had them in for a while and suddenly your eye is telling you it's not comfortable, listen to your eye, take your contact lenses out. Give your eyes a break and, start off with lubricant eye drops. And if that's not enough, there are so many prescription medications and in-office procedures that are now available for dry eye. But, I think just listening to your eyes when you're wearing your contact lenses and giving your eyes a break it does a lot of good.
In terms of getting your eyes checked, I mentioned earlier that some people with vision issues typically wear those contact lenses and also wear glasses. So how often should somebody be going in to get their eyes checked to update any sort of contact lenses or glasses that they need, but also to check in on their eye health, especially as seasons change, and for those that are affected by seasonal allergies too?
Great question. So, obviously, if you ever have a change in your vision or if you're having a problem, that's always a good time to come in. But as far as just regular eye checks, typically I recommend once or twice a year, and that's going to depend on a few things. So if you're very young and healthy and you feel that you're seeing well and you don't wear glasses, you may not need to get as frequent eye exams. Definitely by age 40, you should get a baseline complete dilated eye examination, because this is when we start to see early onset eye diseases where we can pick up on things early and really have more of an impact. And, once you get to like 60, 65, you definitely want to be getting annual exams at the very least. Now, having said that, if you have an eye condition, for example, such as glaucoma, you're going to be seen much more frequently by your doctor. So, those conditions aside, I would say once a year or maybe once every 2 years, depending on your age, is really appropriate.
We're joined by Dr. Amanda Salter from Shanbaum Eye Specialist in Berkeley, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find more information, get in contact with them at shanbaumeye.com. That's shanbaumeye.com, or call them 248-546-2133, 248-546-2133. Dr. Salter, another couple minutes with you today. Anything else that we should be keeping aware of in terms of our eye health this fall or as we head into the colder months of the year?
Yeah, so I think some of the things I mentioned to my patients just as good eye health prevention, we just mentioned getting regular eye exams. I think that's really critical. Also sunglasses. So I think a lot of us think of sunglasses being important in the summer. Well, I know it's kind of gloomy in Michigan in the winter, but we do have sunny days. And a good rule of thumb, I think, is if you're squinting or if you're having to do this to shield your eyes, then that's a good time to be wearing sunglasses or a brimmed hat for protection from the UV rays. So that's all year round. Think about sunglasses.
shanbaumeye.com for more information and to get in contact with Dr. Salter and the other experts at Shanbaum Eye Specialist. Dr. Salter, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
shanbaumeye.com is their website. We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll talk to one of many of the great nonprofits in our local area. We'll talk to one that's specializing mostly on healthcare. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu. Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
I'm feeling good.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live local daily TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about our program on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find more information on all of our partnering stations across Michigan, including My Michigan TV, and find all of our full episodes and individual interviews as well on demand. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining us now on the program is Jim Lydiard. He is the Chief Strategy Officer at Harmony Cares, formerly known as U.S. Medical Management. Joining us now on the Megacast. Jim, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Tyler. Excited to be here.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, tell us about Harmony Cares and what your business provides to people here in our local area and across Michigan.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So Harmony Cares is not a new company. As you mentioned, it's a rebranded version of an already great healthcare company. U.S. Medical Management started providing homebound care to Michigan residents back in 1993. So what this rebrand really offers us up now is an opportunity to sort of harmonize, if you will, our various healthcare programs and business units into one. We provide house calls from a primary care perspective. We provide home health visits from nursing and therapy. We provide mobile lab, mobile radiology, and even hospice and palliative medicine when a patient needs that point. So think of us as a no cost or lower cost, simpler version of healthcare in your home.
So why the focus on home healthcare? Was that a market that wasn't being really covered in the healthcare industry, or is that somewhere that your business believed that they had the expertise and the personnel to really thrive and support a lot of people in need?
Yeah, great question. So as you probably know, or most historians know, providing healthcare in the home was not a new concept, but we sort of went away for it for the last half century. The reality is we're better to provide care. Fact is, our providers will tell you they learn more from seeing patients in the home than if the patients were to come into a clinic. We get to see a patient's routine. We get to see how they're eating. We get to see if they're taking their medications. So while it's a little bit more nuanced for us to get providers and get clinicians to and from the home, we feel like it's our responsibility to do so, especially to access those patients that, frankly, Tyler, may not be able to have the fortunate nature of accessing care like you and I do. So a lot of our patients are homebound, lack some of the resources, and really wish to avoid the half day or full day exercise of getting to and from healthcare.
And this provides them that sort of access and a variety of different forms of care as well. How has the COVID-19 pandemic affected those operations and the execution of these services, especially for those that are homebound, given that there was so much embedded separation of people, especially in the healthcare industry, over the course of the last couple of years?
Yeah, well, not surprisingly, right? It was very challenging for us, especially in the beginning parts of 2020 and even towards the end of 2020. We already serve a very vulnerable population, a lot of compromising health issues. So first and foremost, we had to make sure that our clinicians had the right PPE or medical equipment, if you will, to enter the home safely and provide care for these patients, because the last thing we wanted to do is subject them to anything we might bring in. The other thing that's come out of the pandemic, I think, is a more commonplace use of technology. So there was a time where we were providing mostly virtual visits, which means we would connect with our patients not face-to-face, rather through a device, a telephone, an email. And so we really had to make do for many months during the pandemic. The fact that now there are vaccines, better equipment out there, we've really found that our patients are relieved to allow us back into the home, and we've been able to enhance our care back again to, I'd say, a dominant face-to-face type modality of care. But the pandemic taught us a ton in how to reach those patients without that.
We're joined by Jim Lydiard. He is from Harmony Cares, joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. More information can be found on their website, harmonycares.com, harmonycares.com for more information. And so important in treating any patient in any form of healthcare is that bedside manner, that empathy for whatever ailment they may be going through as you're trying to, figure out what's going on with this particular patient at this particular time and the ways that whatever's going on is affecting them, but also to provide that care. In terms of what you do, given that you're going into these people's homes, it is usually homebound individuals that cannot or really should not be making that venture outside of the home, as you said, for that long, arduous process often of going to the doctor's office across town in some cases. How much is empathy woven into the mission of your company and the way that your personnel works with their patients all across Michigan and in several cities across the U.S.?
I would tell you that this is probably the most enjoyable part of my work day to day, is to see the care and compassion that our clinicians have. I would tell you that a lot of people get into providing care in the home, but not a lot of people stay without that conviction for treating patients like we do. And if you look up empathy, right, it's the ability to recognize, understand, and share thoughts and feelings with another person. I think our patients really embody the fact that while maybe our patients might have a very different life experience than we do, we just really try to remember the human side of delivering and receiving care. The fact is, Tyler, no one wants to end up homebound, right? But if and when they do, we want to ensure that the care team entering that home is respectful, sympathetic, empathetic. And that trust that we end up building because of that empathy is really what allows us to, I think, be that first call. When a patient is having an emergency, they call us because they trust us, and we've demonstrated, that empathetic way of providing care. Without that, they're just calling 911, and they're back into the unfortunate vicious cycle of how these patients that live in the home unfortunately receive more care in an acute setting or in a hospital than they often do in an outpatient setting, or as we do, provided in the home.
More information, again, can be found harmonycares.com. That is harmonycares.com for more information on this organization that has been conducting this business since 1993 with over 100 locations in 11 states in the U.S., including right here in Michigan. harmonycares.com. Typically, how do people get in contact with your organization and start that process of receiving that in-home care? If they've been going to a doctor for a long time, and certainly if they have some insurance implications and hurdles to get over in order to get that care, in some cases, it's really critical that they can start to get that care today. So how does your company help them bridge some of those gaps, particularly with the often pesky insurance companies?
Yeah, great question. So there's really several routes patients come into our service. First and foremost, you can talk to your current provider. You can talk to your current health insurance. If you're living in a senior housing community, you can talk to the staff there. You can also go online to the website you've referenced several times, Tyler, harmonycares.com, and you can find us and reach us and contact us through that. In any event, we do take most major insurances. We can be a provider that comes in and sort of by referral sees a patient or a resident of one of those senior housing settings. We do also have local offices. So you can also reach out to our offices in Ann Arbor, Flint, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Lansing, Marysville, Saginaw, and our headquarter office in Troy. So we're very easy to get a hold of. We have a dedicated outreach team that's in the community trying to find the patients at the same time as they're trying to find us. Because often it's just an awareness opportunity. The biggest complaint we tend to hear from our first patients, the first visit, is, I wish I would have known about you sooner. So that's why we're also trying to do shows like yours here, Tyler, to get into the Michigan community and make sure they know that there are resources just like us out there, and we're ready to serve.
So we've really mostly focused on that primary care element of this in-home care that you're providing with Harmony Cares. But what are some of the other forms of healthcare that are also being provided in the home by your company and its providers?
Yeah, it's a great question. So of those 8 or so markets I just mentioned, most of them we also offer Harmony Cares Home Health, which is a short-term, typically a nurse or a therapist coming into your home for some sort of rehabilitation. We also offer Harmony Cares Hospice. So if you or your loved one are at that point in your life where you need more of a comfort-based, what's called palliative measure of care, we provide services in those same 8 markets. I mentioned, I think in the very beginning of the Megacast, that we also offer in-home lab services, in-home radiology services. And these are all programs where we're happy to bring in as much as possible when the patient needs it.
Michigan locations include in Flint, Grand Rapids, as well as Lansing, Troy, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, so many different locations here Saginaw also in the state of Michigan. More information can be found on harmonycares.com/locations to find them in your local area. We're joined by Harmony Cares' Jim Lydier, the Chief Strategy Officer, on today's edition of the Megacast. You can find more information on their website, harmonycares.com. That's harmonycares.com. Jim, another couple minutes with you today before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that our audience should know at this time about Harmony Cares or the services that you provide?
Yeah, glad you asked. So, while we've talked mainly today about our mission to care for patients such as this, I think it's also worth noting that we provide care for a lot of our employees. And by that, I mean we're hiring. So, it takes a special type of clinician to come in and work with us, or non-clinician as well. But know that we have open positions throughout the region for clinical, operational, sales-driven positions. So for the listeners throughout Michigan, please head to our website and take a peek at the various roles we have available. We really try to make sure that our models are team-based. So rather than a clinician that's used to, kind of being on an island, doing everything for themselves, we think of our clinicians as sort of doctors or leaders of teams rather than captains of ships. And we really hope that we're creating a model that, allows us to restore the joy of providing healthcare in this type of space. So as much as we're excited to grow in form of more patients to serve, we're also excited to grow in terms of a team. So please check us out there too.
harmonycares.org for more information. That's harmonycares.org to find more info. Jim, thank you so much for joining.
.com.
Sorry, .com. My apologies. Got that right the whole time. That's fine.
Thanks so much, Tyler. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it as well. Jim Lydier, he is the Chief Strategy Officer with Harmony Cares. More information, again, I'll get it right this time, harmonycares.com. harmonycares.com for more information. That is going to do it for this Thursday edition of the Megacast. Of course, if you are just tuning in, you missed part of our show or just caught the tail end there of our interview with Jim. Fear not, you can find all of our interviews online, civiccentertv.com/Megacast. We'll get those posted there very shortly, including our full episode for today. In the meantime, go back and watch all of our full episodes and individual interviews from this weekend, all of our episodes leading all the way back to March of 2020 when this show began. civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll also find more information on our partnering stations that are broadcasting us live and live to tape and providing us on demand 5 days a week all across the Great Lakes states. civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Of course, so many of the different issues and topics that we discuss here on the Megacast have to do with COVID-19 in some way, shape, or form still, even at this time, as we're in a much different part of the pandemic than we have been in the past. For more information and updates on what COVID-19 is doing in your community and how it's affecting your local area, civiccentertv.com. And go click on our local news page. At the top, we have links to up-to-date information on COVID-19 direct from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention at the federal level, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services statewide and locally in southeastern Michigan from the Oakland County Health Division. In addition, we have articles posted from many different journalistic outlets all across Michigan every day about headlines making news in your local area and that are important to us Michiganders. While you're there, click through those articles, read them in full, get their supporting materials. And of course, if you have the means to do so, we highly encourage you to subscribe to these publications and support local journalism in your community. civiccentertv.com on our local news page. Big thank you to everybody that joined us on today's edition of the Megacast. Of course, again, you can find all those interviews on our Megacast page at civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Also want to give a big thank you to our crew that makes this program possible 5 days a week for an hour each day. Calvin Brown and Jared Clark at the studio of My Michigan TV. And of course, our producer, the king of television, as we call him, Larry Nyland. That does it for this Thursday edition of the Megacast. We'll return with a new episode on Friday.
This is My Michigan TV. Around here, we just call it My.